Hello, 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 friends. How are we doing this afternoon? You are tuned in to Stock Market Live with me. I'm Jason Krutzky. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. What's up, David Yoakum? How you doing, man? It is Wednesday. It's been a long time since we've done this. It feels like forever ago that we did this. It was actually just 1 week ago, but a lot has happened in that time. And today is a really exciting day, it seems, in the markets. The markets are very, very strong today, coming off of quite oversold conditions. And the big question, what's up, Mark SD? How's it going, man? Hope you're doing good. The big question today is, what is this? Is this a dead cat bounce? Is this something more? What's up, Lori? How are you? Hope you're good. And I'm curious to know your thoughts on this. I have some thoughts of my own. I'm going to go over a couple of things that I've noticed over the past couple of days, specifically something that happened yesterday that is very, very important for me personally. You guys may not think anything of it, but I think it's pretty important. So I'm going to go over that. I'm going to talk about that. But what is this to you guys? Do you guys think that this is the real deal here? Are we getting a real deal bounce? Or is this just coming off oversold, super oversold conditions, and maybe just a little short-term little rally? Where are you guys seeing the strength? What's up, Ziv? Good evening from Prague. Oh, man, Prague is one of my favorite towns in the world. I love Prague. So beautiful there. Thank you for tuning in, Ziv. Lori thinks we're at resistance. She thinks this is a bear market rally. For my son Marshall, 393 close. Presumably you're talking about SPY here. Let's take a look and see what's going on. 393 close. You think so? You think we're going to sell off from here? We certainly could. This is a big spot for sure on SPY. A pretty important spot. So I want to take a few minutes and talk about just what I'm seeing on the indices. You guys know me. I'm a price action guy. And something really important happened yesterday that had not happened yet. You know me, I'm always looking at pivotal swing highs, pivotal swing lows. I'm looking at what price does when it gets to those levels. Does it make new highs? Does it reject at those pivotal swing highs and swing lows? What is it doing when it gets there? Because what it does when it gets there is going to help me decide what I should do going forward, what to expect. Now, of course, expectations are one thing. What actually happens is a totally different thing. But if we build some expectations, we could start planning our trades. We can start getting ideas around what our expectations are. So the first thing that I noticed on the Qs, nothing crazy, but it's price action related. And, you know, speaking of price action, tomorrow night we're going live with a master of trend, Mike from Market Traders TV. So if you want to learn more about how to be thinking about price action, you don't get enough of it from me, or you don't hear enough of it from me, tomorrow night, right here, 8 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to be hanging out with Mike from Market Traders TV. He's going to be giving us a thorough breakdown of any charts that you throw at him. And sometimes he could be pretty quick with making his analysis, you know, because he's a price action guy. He doesn't have a bunch of indicators that he's looking at. He's just looking at what price has done and what he would expect it to do. So I would encourage all of you guys to come hang out for that. I think it's going to be a great show. It's always a good time with Mike. But so if we look at the Qs, I'm just going to use my little arrow here. We've got these lows. Those are the lowest lows that we've made of this whole bear market run, this whole bear market period. June 16th, right? Those are the lowest lows here on the Qs. And then we've slowly made higher lows. And you notice that each time we come in, we hold the previous low. We never closed below the previous low. So higher lows here, higher lows here, higher lows here, higher low here, higher low here, higher low here. And then we start fading. So this particular low, pretty important little low, right? Because It's kind of one of the last ones that we have to hold on to. The farther we get away from the 50% retrace of this move, the more likely this move is not a real deal high or low. It's actually just going to be a reversion, like a technical reversion, maybe test something higher and go lower. So the first thing that I notice here is this particular low, pivotal low. And, you know, we've been watching, you guys have been hearing me talking about kind of this low being a target area where price should find some kind of something. What's up, Britsu? Hope you're good. Looks like you changed your picture. We were looking for this low to hold. We were looking for price to stay above these lows. And I'll even throw a little line there, right on the low. Right, and so the first move into it, got a really, really nice bounce there. Looks like they pulled a teeny little bit of liquidity. There were probably some stops right below that low. What's up, Annie? How are you doing? Hope you're good. And then they bounced it. Well, the next day, we failed again. But yesterday, we did something very important, in my opinion. Now, it's just my opinion, you know, take it for what it is. But we actually closed below that low yesterday. And a close below is a little bit more powerful than just wicking below. Wicking below, you're just kind of scooping liquidity because you know that there's a bunch of traders who have stops below this low, a bunch of longs. So they took out those stops on that first test, but now they've come in and they actually closed below it yesterday. Now they're reversing it today, and this is probably why they're reversing it today, because they closed below it yesterday. Right. That close is a little bit scary to me as a person who, you know, wants to just be mega long all the time. That kind of, to me, suggests that we might actually be headed probably lower here. Now, we're getting a reversion, right? We're going to get a reversion. That's definitely going to happen. And we're getting it today. So the other thing that I'm watching, this is a fib, essentially, just from low to high here. We can see we failed below the 50% level. Not really a great sign. Once you fail below that 50% level, expectation starts becoming more and more that you're going to pull back to the full downside of the move. And if you get a bounce, then you're not going to get the full bounce, meaning you're not going to get a new high. So that's the first thing that I'm seeing on the cues. Be curious to know if anybody else noticed that. Be curious to know if anybody else cares about that one very particular thing that happened. Could just be a me thing. Maybe I'm the only one that cares about it. But it is kind of interesting to see that. The second note is SPY. Guess what? SPY did the same dang thing. I believe it did anyway. Let me check and make sure. Okay, so SPY did not close below. That's interesting. Q's closed below. SPY did not close below. SPY just wicked through it, pulled liquidity, and reversed. A little bit more bullish on the SPY, right? Because it did not close below. IWM. Look at the same deal. Barely. Did not close below. So the Q's closed below. SPY did not. IWM did not. If you watch futures, like I do, all of the future symbols close below this level. So a little bit of difficulty to interpret what to expect, but it is very interesting that the futures all closed below. The indices did not, except for the Q's. I don't know. What are you guys thinking? I've gotten a couple of opinions from folks. Sounds like the few opinions that I've gotten pretty bearish. Are the rest of you guys bearish here? Are you bullish here? If you're bullish here, what's your expectation? Because for me, since we've kind of, especially on the future side, since we've kind of lost those levels, to me, that suggests that there's kind of limited upside potential here, and your limited upside potential is somewhere within the range of kind of where we've been over this past move from those August highs to now. So your upside potential is somewhere in here. Now, where exactly, hard to say. Yeah, so Annie, I think Britsu just answered your question. Why are we pumping today? Because a ton of stops just got taken out below those pivot lows from July 22nd or so. And they reversed it. The second that happened, they reversed it. And that's not a huge surprise to see. In fact, it's also, it's kind of what you would expect. But how does it set up expectation going forward? Now we can throw up some indicators. Let me see what I got up here. I'm going to throw up some stuff. Of course, 200-day moving average. Let me do this too. I want to go to... Let me put volume by price up real quick and just kind of see where what we've got going here. I'm going to go from the highs. Give me 1 second, y'all. I don't know where this thing is. This thing's way back here. Hold up. Okay, here we go. There it is. Okay, so it was anchored off of COVID lows. That makes sense. So actually, let's do this. I'm not going to go to these highs. Oh man, I thought I just moved it. Are you guys having a good day today? Are you trading well today? Are you hitting your targets? Are you not hitting your targets? Curious to know how you guys are doing in this. And also kind of curious to know how you're playing it too, because it's tricky out there. It is very tricky out there. I'm going to go to the daily. I'm going to throw this bad boy just on these recent highs. I want to see kind of where we're at from the highs. So here's IWM. I've got volume by price anchored to the recent high back in middle of August, where we ran into the 200 SMA and rejected. So now we know. This is interesting. Look at this. Okay, so we're anchored from those recent highs. Notice where our point of control is. This thing was trading as high as 201. It's currently trading 181.47. Look where our point of control is. It's only traded down in these levels for a couple of days, and look at our point of control. It is where price is right now. That tells us that all of the buyers, or the most buyers, have been accumulating here at these lows. That's interesting to know. Volume profile and volume by price. Yeah, so essentially your profile is over here on the right-hand side, Annie. And what all of these bars represent, let me change this color so you guys can see it a little bit better. Yeah, it's a little bit easier to see. And let me know if you have any trouble seeing anything. I'm happy to assist, or happy to kind of change what I got going on here. But essentially, this is on the right-hand side, the horizontal bars that you're looking at. This is the amount of volume that has occurred at each individual price level. So, and we're measuring it from a point, right? Hold on 1 second. Actually, let me change the color of the values here too. Yeah, better. We're measuring from a point, right? So we're measuring from those recent highs. And so from those highs, 120 or 202 down to 177, 178. It's the amount of volume that has occurred at each individual price level from that point in time. Britsu says it's not the same. Maybe it's not the same. I've always thought it was the same. How is it not the same, Britsu? Be curious to know. So the more volume, obviously, the more important a level may be, the more powerful a level may be in terms of acting in terms of influencing what price action does when it gets to it, right? Price below is that single candle. Price below is that single candle. I'm not sure what you mean. Price below volume? I'm still not sure what you mean, Britsu. So we're always looking to know where the point of control is relative to kind of an important place on the chart. these near-term highs seem a pretty important place on the chart. So we want to know where the volume is. And so your point of control, that's where the most volume at price has occurred since the highs. And that's at 179.70. You anticipate these levels to come in and act as support or resistance depending on where price is in relation to them. So in this case, it's not that this area was acting as support. It's just that a lot of volume has now built up at this level. So if price is able to push higher and then comes back and tests, we might look for this level to try and hold in the future. Next up, though, we got the volume weighted average price from that same high is where our average buyer owns this stock from, right? So since these highs, right? If you had bought any time between the 16th and now, on average, folks own this thing at 189.21, so you anticipate that 189.21 level to maybe be a level of interest, a level of potential resistance as price finds its way back up to it. If price is able to find its way back up to it, of course. Now, I'm not saying it's going to, but I'm saying it could, right? And that might be a spot. Oh, you're saying oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, no. So volume profile and volume by price. I mean, yes, pretty much the same thing. I don't know. Other platforms may kind of give you a different look for it, but pretty much the same thing in my opinion. So this is interesting to note that we have all of this volume built up now at this level that we're kind of finding some support at. It's good to see. You know, you don't want to see this point of control up here because then you definitely would expect price to kind of fail. But anywhere we have these big volume nodes, Annie, we're looking at these areas as potential levels of support or resistance, depending again where price is in relation to them. And then you also kind of want to look for areas where price or where the volume nodes are actually quite small. We would call those like maybe vacuum or just kind of lower volume areas. Price can, when there's not as much volume in a particular price area, price can push right through that area pretty easily. So we're kind of coming up into an area right now, kind of between 182 and 183, where price could, in theory, push pretty quickly through that. And we don't really have any strong amounts of volume again until the 190 area, which kind of aligns with our VWAP. So we'll have to be watching this over time to see how this progresses, see what comes of this. But it's kind of interesting to see, like, on the IWM, on the SPY, they managed to not close below those really important lows. They just wicked below them. Like Britsu said, took out liquidity and turned it around. Whereas on the Qs, they actually did close below it, and they closed below it on all of the major indices or futures as well, NQ, ES, RTY. So that's kind of interesting. I'm really anxious to see where this goes because we're just getting into the last stand areas here where, you know, if we start failing below these pivot lows, there's nothing really keeping us from coming and back testing at the very least these July lows. But since this area has already been tested so many times, the probability of pushing through it and making a new low is becoming more and more probable, which of course you never want to see that, you know. But if we go to SPY, let's check out and see what's going on with SPY. Same spot. SPY, different look, right? POC on SPY from these highs is up here at 415. VWAP at 408. So if price is able to continue higher here, which it looks like it's trying to, if it's able to continue higher here over the coming sessions, we can anticipate somewhere between 408 and 415 at becoming maybe a pretty important area of resistance. And it could be something to start planning for, you know, like whether or not it happens when it gets there, who knows. You always have to think about the speed with which these things happen and all that sort of stuff. You know, how much volume is able to build up as time goes on, or do they just ramp it into these levels? But that's it. That's an interesting difference between what's going on with SPY and what's going on with IWM. If we look at QQQ, we see something very similar as what we saw on SPY. POC up here at 317, VWAP at 310. So again, that same area. So now that price has potentially started signaling that a bounce is in play, we have to now look where we might get caught up. And, you know, for me, these areas, the POC, the VWAP from the near-term highs, I think are going to come into play here in the not-so-distant future. If we get, you know, a strong rest of the week, if we slowly grind higher, I think we might start looking up here as a potential place where price might find some resistance. So it's something to be thinking about. You know, it's a matter of just like using the tools that you have and developing as good of a guess as you can develop. What are you guys thinking? Where are y'all's heads at? Do you feel like this is just an interim, short-term sort of thing? Do you think that this hopefully has some legs? Do you anticipate that we're going to come back into this 200-day moving average on these indices? Do you guys anticipate that we're going to fail at this POC VWAP kind of area? What are y'all thinking? While y'all are telling me what you're thinking, I'm going to go back and look at all the stuff I missed. David says he thinks we see a dead cat bounce off this trend line to 190. So let's go back to IWM because I'm pretty sure that's what you were talking about. So you think 190 is coming? You think we're going to see that VWAP? And you think it's a dead cat bounce because we're still in a downtrend? Yeah, I mean, super reasonable to say. That's for sure. This is a big move today, though. Pretty interesting. This is a really interesting day. Do you guys have any individual names that you're looking at? Chewy, SPY long above 390, short below. Yeah, totally. I'm with you on that. 100%. You got an SPWR, 8 cents from the low this morning, up 12% today. That's nice. Let's take a look at SPWR. Wow, what a monster. Huge move. Taking out the previous highs as well. Really nice, David. Good trade, man. Good for you. Are you going to be swinging this? You trying to hold on to it for a little while? I know that these solar names have been rocking and rolling. Tan and the like. You know, speaking of looking at multiple names, has anybody played around with the MultiSymbal View workspace yet? If you have not, this has been a request from our users for a long time. And, you know, not a ton of people know kind of the founding principles of TrendSpider, but one of the founding principles of TrendSpider was, you know, the importance of monitoring the name that you were trading at any given time. And the idea that if you're looking at a lot of different names, you can kind of get a little, everybody's got different types of analysis, but you can get kind of sidetracked. You know, if you're eyeing one particular name for a trade and then you look at 5 other names, all of a sudden you've forgotten maybe about the one name that you were really eyeing and really concentrating on. And so the concept for us was to build a platform that was your eyes and ears for you. So that's what our alerts are all about. That's all of the tools on the platform were built with that in mind. You can focus on a single name, let the platform kind of monitor what's going on across the markets for you. And then you would get alerts to let you know, hey, it's time to look at this or it's time to look at that, so that you don't get distracted. So we built the platform with these ideas in mind. Super, what's the right word I'm looking for here? I think it's a very noble way or like a very good purpose, right? However, we have gotten consistent requests for a long time for the multi-chart view. And we're so stoked to be able to offer it now. For anybody who hasn't played around with it, it's super easy to access. It's a unique workspace. If you click on your name in the top right corner and scroll down to where it says Open MultiSymbal View, click on that bad boy. It brings you to your workspace landing page. I'm sure you're familiar with this. So we've added an all new workspace. This doesn't take up one of your alternate workspaces. It's just its own unique one, just like the mobile device is. And I've got it pulled up here. So this is MultiSymbal View. Now MultiSymbal View has its functions. It has certain things that it does not do. So you might notice when you're using it, or when you first log into it, if you haven't yet, you might notice that there are some things that are missing, and that's kind of by design. You know, the whole purpose of MultiSymbal View is simply that, being able to look at multiple names at once. So when it comes to doing your deeper analysis, be it your strategy testing, your scanning, those sorts of things, setting up your trading bots, whatever it may be, that stuff is meant to be done over on your standard workspace. So MultiSymbal View is really kind of for those traders who have multiple screens. You want to watch a bunch of tickers at once. Throw this up on one of your screens, and it's going to hang out there. You can, of course, adjust the view up to 16 panels. So just pick whatever layout that you want and adjust it accordingly. If you want to change anything about what's going on with all of the charts, you click the button that says All Charts. And these are all the different things that you can add or remove in a single one fell swoop. Right? You can change the time frame of all the charts, the chart type. You can use log scale, linear scale, remove or add the highlight breakouts, remove or add non-regular trading hours, remove or add the trading separation lines. Of course, all of your auto analysis tools still work. Your auto fibs, your trends, of course, your indicators, pattern recognition, and then other data. But it's really just kind of a view tab. You know, it's really just for you to be able to monitor and see what's going on in this sector. How is this sector working in relation to this sector, and so on. It's kind of the idea with this. I know it's really basic. You know, a lot of folks would say this is a very basic functionality, but it's something that we haven't offered. So we're really happy to offer it now. Lots of different things that I've seen users doing with the layouts. You know, like for me here, I've got Qs, SPY, IWM, and then I'm kind of specifically watching XLE right now. So I have XLE at the top. So I have my 4, you know, kind of big index type of tickers at the top. And then underneath each set, I have kind of some important names within that space. SPY's a little bit wonky because I'm using it. I've got a couple of energy names in SPY here too, and IWM's a little wonky, but that's kind of the general idea, right? Like, you set it up however it makes sense for you. I think this is kind of a cool way, doing the index and then a couple of important tickers from that index underneath. And then you could, of course, give all of these different colors. You know, you could give tech a certain color, you could give utilities a certain color, you could give energy a certain color, and so on. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. Really do dig this view. And another kind of cool thing is you can expand the views using the little crosshairs here in the top right corner. So you can zoom in on any individual chart and have a look at it. And you can still utilize your alerts here. So not all of the functionality is missing. It's just those big ticket tools, the scanner, the strat tester, the trading bots. But you still can, of course, you know, right click on anything, create alerts on it. You can still do all of that here in the multi-chart view. So super, super helpful. You're asking about XOM, Annie. Let's take a look at XOM. It's kind of interesting to me what's going on with energy, because XLE doesn't look super great, but some energy names look pretty darn good to me. So first thing that I notice on XOM is a potential for a failed new high. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't gain here and go make a new high, but we just haven't yet. And so that makes me a little bit uneasy. It looks like they came in and lost this, or they backfilled this 100 level where they had gapped it. So they filled that the other day and they've sold it off. I mean, they are still putting in higher lows. This was a pretty big low to hold, this 92 low that they tested this morning. But it looks like they're holding it. The only thing that to me is kind of concerning is we really need to make like a new proper high. And if we go to like XLE, we see something very similar, right? Potentially a lower high relative to this one. Now, we did not fill the gap here like we did on XOM. So that's kind of interesting. There is still room where I would say that this is your pivotal lower low. I guess you got one kind of right here too. And they're holding them. I mean, they are putting in a higher low right now. Me personally, I'm not trying to talk my book, but this is my book. I took Oxy this morning on this pullback. And the reason why I particularly like Oxy more than the rest is new high, right? You have a high, you have a higher high, and now we're holding a higher low, kind of holding an important level. Some traders would call this a fair value gap here. There was a fair value gap, right? Actually, I'll just put on the indicator. Ooh, hold on. Let me change my settings here. Make this like point, I don't know, 5. Let's see if that finds it. That didn't quite find it either. It must be, it's a pretty small little gap, but it's there. Well, it's not finding it. So it's actually a quite small gap. But anyway, there's a little fair value gap right there, and it's holding it. So this is what I was keeping my eye on. EMPH, another one. Yep. EMPH has a big day today. EMPH actually making new highs today, right? It is the top gainer on my personal little watch list here. Yep. All new highs. And we had a guest on the Twitter trading space a couple weeks ago who was going counter trend and short EMPH. And I remember that he said that his stop out point was a new high. So maybe he got stopped out today on that particular trade. But man, EMPH wildly strong today on huge volume too, quite above average volume today and yesterday. So that's good to see, you know, low volume on this pullback, kind of something that you're always looking for when it comes to consolidation, especially after a big move. You're looking for low volume consolidation, sideways pullback sort of action. And man, you got it here almost to a T. And now they've got volume really coming in and pushing into new highs. Super strong name here on EMPH. Very impressive. You know, speaking of Twitter Spaces, did anybody tune in last night to the Trade Ideas space? If anybody did, I want to take some time and go over all of the ideas that were discussed because they were all pretty interesting ideas. Our buddy Options Mike, don't know if you guys know him, but if you do, he was on the show last night and he was talking about PayPal. He mentioned his big bullish thesis here was that they've really turned it around recently as far as their fundamentals are concerned. Like their last earnings report was really good. And you can see the relative strength in comparison to what's going on with just the Qs or something like that. The Qs, remember, the Qs have pulled all the way back here essentially to this relative level. Right? And PayPal, nowhere near that. PayPal staying super strong here, has filled this gap and held the gap. And, you know, he was watching a couple different levels. He had the 50-day moving average, I believe, was his first level. So he was looking at the 50-day, which is this line in yellow, so $86.50. And he was also talking about maybe buying the break of this downtrend line. So potential opportunities to go along here today. He did preface his ideas with the fact that they were contingent on the market being strong as well. So the market's strong today, PayPal's strong today. Maybe this thing continues a little bit higher. You know, it doesn't have earnings for a little while. Let me see what earnings are on it again. Doesn't have earnings until November, so plenty of time there. He had some big targets. 102 was his initial first target, so about $8 higher, $7 higher. But then 200-day moving average up here around 116. Of course, over time, as this gains, the moving average is going to lower. So, you know, who knows where the moving average is as this slowly gains if it's able to. And then even back to 140 over the night. I mean, he has a big target, or he had big time frames for this. He was talking about swinging this for months and months. So an interesting relative strength case in PayPal in comparison to what's going on the Qs at the very least. So cool to see it strong today. His other idea was Ford. You'll notice very, very similar looking chart. And he had kind of the same idea for long entries as well. He was looking for a little bit more of a pullback to that 14 area, which kind of aligns with the 50-day moving average and those previous May highs. But super strong day at Ford today as well. And he had some big targets on this too, up and over the 200-day, around $16.50 or so. He was eyeballing this big gap up here around $20. And I believe he was looking for that over the next like six to 12 months. So again, both longer term swing plays, both stocks, like just common stock plays, no options. But two interesting relative strength names. He cited the fact that Ford is making quite big headway in the EV space, which I'm not super familiar with, but he was talking about Ford kind of getting a leg up production-wise on all of the other car manufacturers in the EV space. So this is going to be one to watch too. It has absolutely held on, and it has shown relative strength here relative to the markets. So interesting setups from Options Mike last night. Liked those a lot. We had 8x trades on. He was talking DE. He was looking for a gain of today's high, or I'm sorry, a gain of yesterday's high, I believe. So we can kind of look through what he was thinking here. I'm going to turn off indicators because 8x is a price action guy. 8x trades the strat. So I believe he was looking for a break of yesterday's high. It was this bad boy right here. We got that break, and he was targeting up in here, 370 or so. So a $4 move. This would more than likely be like a weekly options type of play. Not as much meat on the bone if you're trading common stock. But mover today, he also mentioned DLTR, I believe. Yep, DLTR, absolutely massive move. This was the big winner for him today. He was looking for a break of yesterday's high, around 137, and he was looking first target's 141, second target's all the way up here 150. So maybe this has turned into a swing trade for him by now. I don't really know. But all of these ideas given out last night for free. So if you guys are interested, if you're ever looking for trade ideas and you're trying to get, just trying to get some ideas as to, even just what are kind of the professionals looking at, how are they thinking about trades? How are they planning their trades? That's what that show on Tuesday nights on Twitter is all about, the trade ideas space. It's about talking to pros, getting their thoughts on how they think about setting up their trades. Having a plan, coming into the day with a good plan is really, really, really important. And those guys really help spell it out. I kind of force them into breaking down their trades step by step. I ask for targets. I ask for what negates the trades for them. I ask for how are they playing it? How are they getting into it? What do they need to see confirmation wise to get into or out of trades? We're asking all of those questions. So if you've never tuned into one of those trade idea spaces, I really recommend it. They're super helpful for me personally. And I imagine if they're helpful for me, they got to be helpful for you too. So hopefully some of y'all tune in. Really cool spaces. What else did we have? We had Danny Naz, Wolf, or rather Pup of Wall Street was talking Meta today. And we're looking for, specifically on Meta, we're looking for a break. It is always Tuesday night, always 8 p.m. Eastern time, Annie. If that is a time that you cannot make, that is A-okay. We record all of them. Let me talk to my producer real quick and see if I can get you a link to the recordings of them. Hold on one second. Once I get the link, you'll have it. And, yeah, perfect. Thank you, Sadie. Shout out, Sadie, for hooking us up with this link. Here you go, guys. So I got to know. Oh, okay. So okay, sweet. Thank you, Sadie. I appreciate it. So that's the link, Annie. That's the link to the show last night. And here's a link to all of the shows so that you can just kind of keep that link in mind and have it there at your disposal whenever you need it. So Danny was talking Meta. Clearly, big level on Meta 155. You know, this thing has tested. We've been talking about Meta. It is. It's on Spotify. Yeah. We've been talking about Meta for months here. And initially, this 155 level looked amazing. This looked like such a great spot to take along a couple months ago. And it was. You know, they held it. It's made some really nice moves off 155 a couple of times. You had a move to 180. You had even a secondary move to 180. So you could have traded this really nicely. But now things are starting to look a little sketch, in my opinion. They were not able to make a new high. So this, to me, right here, is a pretty big warning shot. They weren't able to get up and over this guy. Right here, they failed it. So that is problematic. Now, they are holding it on. They're holding this thing for dear life. If they're able to lose 155, Danny's ideas were moves quite lower. So these are kind of the four levels that he had: 147, 143 initially. 137 was quite a lower target, and then the ultimate target of 123 here at the very, very low. So Facebook, Meta, big one to keep an eye on here. Obviously strong with the rest of the market today. How long can it stay strong? I don't know. I kind of anticipate with any amount of weakness in the markets, this thing is going to slide. So we got big eyes on that 155 level. Actually, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, because I'm really interested in this trade personally myself. So I'm going to set an alert for a breakthrough here. Short Meta. I'm going to give it some time. If there are any user, or is there anybody here that is not a TrendSpider user, or maybe that is a new user? Maybe you signed up during the Labor Day sale that we had this weekend, big sale. And I know a bunch of new people signed up. Hopefully we have some of you guys here with me right now. If there are any new users to the platform who signed up this weekend, I would love for you to say hello. Let me know who you are. So this is one of my favorite tools on the platform. So simple, but just so easy too. And just makes a ton of sense. You know, these are alerts. I'm putting alerts on price levels. You can put alerts on moving averages. You can put alerts on VWAPs. You can put alerts on any indicator that lives on the chart. You right click on it and create an alert on it. You can create alerts on any fib levels, on the auto trend levels. Just right click, and then it brings up this create alert box. You choose your trigger, you choose your sensitivity. This is the dollar amount plus or minus the line that the alert fires within. Choose your confirmation candle, give that thing a title. You can leave a note on it. Choose the expiration, choose how many times you want to be triggered, and then create alert. So now I've got an alert on this line, the 155 level on Meta. I don't have to look at this ticker at all. I don't have to keep an eye on it. You know, that's the whole idea. I don't want to have to watch this all day. I don't want this to be in the corner of one of my multi-chart views if it doesn't have to be. I just want to be alerted when 155 hits. So set the alert at the level and forget about it. The second ticker that Danny had was Lulu. He had big targets on Lulu, 368, 395, and we liked it because of a slew of different things. If you know Danny's using a lot of different metrics to gauge when to get into or out of trades. But the big thing here is relative strength. Power earnings gap up. This thing is held and made a new high relative to those August 16th highs, making higher lows across the board. What's not to like, really, right? New highs in this environment is hard to come by. So cool to see on Lulu, some strength there. And he's got some big targets, so this one's working out. Who else did we have on yesterday? We had Danny, we had 8X, we had Options Mike, and we had Nick Stocks. And Nick Stocks gave us AAL. His targets on AAL already hitting. He was looking for a move above the Friday high, September 2nd, above 335. 335 was his big line in the sand, if I recall. And actually, man, this thing worked exactly the way Nick planned it, or exactly the way that he expressed the idea. He said he was looking for price to gain 1335, and then he was looking for a pullback and a hold. And so here's 1335. We gained it. We pulled back. We held it. We held it. We held it. And we have run. And he was looking for 1374 for his target. So really nice trade here for Nick. Happy for him. Glad that worked out. Really, really well done on that one, sir, if you're watching. Second pick from Nick was Walt Disney. Let's take a look at what he was seeing here on Walt Disney. I don't know if it quite hit his target. Actually, let me come back to... I take notes of all these things. Let me see what he had on Disney. I can't quite remember what his thoughts were. He was looking at the 130 puts. No, he was looking at the November 130 calls. He was looking for a hold of 108. So... and we essentially got that hold yesterday. I think he was hoping that we'd get another chance back at 108. So I don't know if his plan has changed. But his idea was a hold of 108, and he was going to swing the 130 November calls. So essentially looking for new highs here. And honestly, relatively speaking, Disney looking great in comparison to the indices. Really hasn't retraced a ton. If we look at its relative kind of swing low that the indices just kind of were playing around with, that's all the way down here at $100. And this guy's trading 112.5 now. So really nice move on Disney. Lots of great ideas last night. All of this to say, lots of great ideas on the trade idea space from Nick Stocks, from Danny Naz, the pup, from our buddy Options Mike, and from 8X Trades. So I want to thank those gentlemen for coming on the show. Hopefully you guys got to tune in. Annie, you didn't get to tune in, but hopefully you'll give it a listen here whenever you have some free time. A couple of tickers came in. UUP, yeah, Chewy. So this is interesting. UUP making relative new highs over the past 4 sessions. But today, lots of weakness in UUP. And what have we been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks? When the dollar is strong, the stocks are not. And when the stocks are strong, the dollar is not. And we're seeing that today. Big, important thing to note. So now the question is, where will the dollar find a bid? Hard to know, but something to keep in mind. Huge volume yesterday. That's kind of interesting to see. Huge volume yesterday and very, very low volume today. I'm going to go to the Raindrop Candles here and see if yesterday was a blue. No, not a blue. Pretty close, but not quite a blue. Whenever we get into... do you guys use Raindrop Candles at all? Whenever we get into really important places on the chart, that could be new swing highs, that could be new swing lows, that could be the end of a consolidation period, or maybe even the beginning of a consolidation period. Just whenever the market's feeling like it's very unsure about what to do next, I'm always turning on the Raindrop Candles to see what the raindrop candles look like. And specifically with this idea in mind, I'm always looking for these little blue guys, the blue raindrops. And if I zoom out here, I don't know if anybody's using the raindrop candles, but if you are, I'm sure you've noticed that every once in a while we get these blue raindrops. So blue raindrops are essentially true volume dojis, meaning that the average price that was traded throughout the day remained the same the entire day, right? Both halves of the day, first half and the second half. Whenever you have the most volume being traded kind of in the middle of the day or in the middle of the price action of the day, you get these blue raindrop candles. And what they signify is essentially indecision in the marketplace. You know, it's very, very uncommon for price to kind of stay in one very tight range all day and have most of the volume trading in that price at like a very particular price point all day. It is quite more common for price to gain or lose from the first half to the second half of the day. That's just natural. Price has a tendency to gain or lose. So whenever you get a red candle, that means that your average price that was paid throughout the day decreased from the first half to the second half of the day. When you get a green candle, it's the opposite. The average price paid increases. So when the average price remains the same throughout the course of the day, you get a blue doji, represents indecision. And oftentimes what that indecision can lead to is volatility. And the reason for that is because when a market is indecisive, what is happening is nobody is really making any money. Price is just sitting in a really tight range. And so nobody's winning, except for maybe people who are trading, both sides of the spread. But somebody who's directional, both sides are losing on a day like that. So what that tends to lead to is volatility, push in price. We never really know what direction price is going to go, but we oftentimes see that price will push strongly away from a blue doji candle. So whenever we come to a point in the chart where price is stalling or price might be about to make a move, I'm always looking for a blue doji. Anyway, all that to say, we did not get a blue doji yesterday, and I kind of would have anticipated a bit of a blue doji yesterday just because we had so much volume. It would have been cool to see one there. That would have given me something to think about. It would have given me a little bit more confidence that the market is very indecisive up here at these new highs. Not quite as indecisive as I anticipated, but I mean, it's relatively close. You could see that the VWAPs on either side are pretty tight. So something to keep in mind. TNX, let's look at TNX. Not sure what's going on with the Treasury. Oh. Let's look at TNX. Volume data is required for given chart. Oh, it's because I've got the raindrop candles. My bad. So TNX here at a bit of a different spot, failing a new high for now. But this is kind of interesting to me because I would have anticipated that it wasn't going to gain here. I would have anticipated that this was going to fail. This year's MetaConnect will take place Tuesday, October 11th, and will feature a slew of announcements regarding VR, AR, and XR. What's XR? I haven't even heard of XR. This is interesting, because TNX, I would have anticipated for sure that this was going to fail right in here when it came back and tested, but it gapped up and held. So that's kind of cool to see, or it's kind of interesting to see. Kind of suggests to me that new highs might be coming. On the strat side, you do have a bit of an expanding sort of price action thing going on here. It's kind of a funny way to draw it, but you kind of do have that. So it's something to watch for sure. I guess this is a better way of displaying it. Oh, interesting. Didn't draw those. Let me do this. Is about what I was seeing. So you do have a bit of a megaphone pattern forming. Is it going to go to new highs? Kind of seems like it might. I would kind of maybe expect it to. So that would be something to watch too. What else you guys got? OCGN. What's up with OCGN? OCGN. Oh, what is this? Below the major moving averages. Extended reality. What does that even mean? I have no idea what extended reality means. NVDA. We'll take a look at that here in a second. So, yeah, so let's see. On OCGN, I think this 210 level, somewhere between $2 and 210, is kind of your last line of defense. The fact that we haven't been able to make a new high is concerning to me. So I'll kind of like talk you through what I'm seeing. You got your low here. You got your higher low here. And in between these lows, you were able to make new highs. And then, of course, you got higher high, higher high. And then we start failing new highs. And now we're making new lows. So to me, this feels like a trend change, that we've been able to make new lows and we've put in lower highs now relative to this guy. I would be selling into any powerful bounces. So if you get a move maybe back into this 50-day moving average or something like that, I would probably be selling into that if I were wanting to trade this. But you're really now looking for this $2, 210, somewhere in here, maybe even like 190, somewhere between 190 and 210 to hold. They could come in and take all that out and then turn it around on you. It happens a lot like that, where they make a fresh low and then they go back and they test the previous high. So something to watch. I don't love it, but I also don't trade these $2 stocks. Like, this just not, I just don't touch them personally. NVDA, what's up with NVDA? NVDA showing a ton of weakness. I mean, you know, it's bouncing with the rest of the market today, but I mean, look at it in comparison to the Qs. Look at it in comparison to the indices. It's made fresh lows against the indices here, and not just lightly wicked through them, but wicked through initially and then has closed below for the past couple of days. Looks kind of like it's on track to close below again today. It's tricky because it definitely has room, right? Now that it's made a fresh low, now it maybe wants to come back up here and test. So you got your 50-day moving average at 168. That could come into play. That is, for me, an untested level, like 168.5 or so, where we broke down, but we haven't come back to test yet. So that could very well come in to play. You know, you got to get up to the gap 143, and you got to get through the gap 150 first before you can even think about 167. And then how long it takes for that to happen, you know, we don't know how long it's going to take. You know, it could take some time to slowly grind up there, right? As your moving average slowly catches up. So who knows? Maybe you get some sort of move like that, a slow grind into this 50-day moving average. I don't really know, but the fact that it's made fresh lows is anything but bullish. But I say that, and I also say, generally, once you make a fresh low, the next thing you're going to get is a reversion, bounce back in to test and see if something will lose higher. So maybe it's staging up for a bounce here. You know, the Q's awful strong today. I'm going to pop back over to them real quick and see what's going on with them. I'm just going to go to a 15-minute here. Coming into the 200 SMA on the 15-minute. Not that that's of any importance for me personally, but it's something to note. Yeah, just wild strength in the Qs today. So the next step here, what have we done? What can we expect? You know, if we just go from these relative highs, you have a high, you have a lower high, a lower high, a lower high. What are we going to do if we come up into this? I mean, you kind of got to expect a lower high, right? We've made lower lows, lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low, and so on. We have not managed to really make a proper higher low yet. So I would maybe expect a proper higher low if we're able to get up and over some of these highs here. If we can get price up and over, then we'll talk. But for now, I don't know. We will see. We will see. Some inflation stocks. Let's take a look at inflation stocks. I don't know anything about inflation stocks. Hold on one second. I just need to check something real quick over here on my end. Yep. Glad I checked. Let me do one more thing. Real quick. Interesting. Russell. If we look at IWM. Oh no. Huh. Okay. Never mind. All right. So let's take a look at these tickers that you just mentioned. MOS, Mosaic. Yeah. Mosaic Company. Where are we at on Mosaic? What do these guys do, Chewy? This does not look very good. This is an inflation stock. Meaning it's meant to go up if inflation continues higher. Is that the idea here? Because if that's true, Chewy, could we assume inflation peaked in April? Because that's kind of what it looks like. But I don't know anything about Mosaic. This does not look very good to me. You know, lower highs across the board. The only thing it's got going for it, did it hold this? Yeah, it just barely held this big swing low right here. So that's good, but it keeps failing new highs. Hard to want to go long when it's failing new highs here. You know, high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and lower high. But higher lows. So really just kind of sideways and needs to figure out what it wants to do. Fertilizer stock. Okay. IPI. Very, very similar look. A bit more extreme. Also kind of suggesting that maybe April was peak. I don't know. I don't love it. It did hold this low. But no new highs yet. Really needs to make some new highs. So that one's kind of tricky. I bet these are these all going to look the same? STLD. Oh, STLD looks a little bit better. I mean, it's still hasn't made a new high. And making near-term lower lows. This might be a higher low here, though. So this one looks a little bit better to me. Steel Dynamic. And then NUE. Same exact look. Those April highs. But this one does look better. It did make a new high relative to this guy. It is putting in a potentially higher low. So that's good to see. I might have anticipated a move back to 115 first, but doesn't mean it has to do that. Nano Dimension, NNDM. Now, Daniel, this is a stock that I would not touch. So I'm just saying that right out front. But coming into your relative last line of defense here, I would say that the odds are not in this thing's favor, even though it's having a good day today. 242 to 270. So what, 12%? 12% low to high today. Can it bounce? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it can bounce from here. How long that bounce should be expected to last is anyone's guess. Because all I really see for now are lower highs. Here, here, here. All right, and lower lows. Now, potentially this is a higher low. But we'll see. We will see. I would, if you're long this guy, shoot, even 220 is a big, that's a big stop. I mean, kind of your best bet was either getting it low a day today or maybe looking for a little bit lower tomorrow, 230, something like that. $57. This thing used to trade $57. Are you serious? No, that's a different ticker. Oh, well, there was at some point it traded that high, long time ago, years ago. Yeah, I don't know. I tend to stay away from names like this. Daniel, I got to be honest. There are better fish in the sea. Regen? Regeneron. Kind of curious. Let me throw up some other items here. So Regeneron coming into historically weak time, October specifically, second weakest month of the year historically, over the past 20-something years. Making new highs, making higher highs, making higher lows. It's kind of doing all the things that you want to see it do. Holding everywhere where, you know, where you'd want to see it hold if you're bullish. This is on the monthly side. On the weekly, it doesn't look quite as good. Lower highs over the past couple of months since April. And even a lower low made. Now, they did hold a higher low here, and they're trying to hold a higher low again. So if they're able to hold, then you would be looking for a move up and over 651. Nice, sand dollar. Yeah, so that's where my head would be at. It would jive for me. Like the first thing that I would be looking at is around in here, 667. Kind of where we failed but haven't come back to test. So I could see them doing that. I could see them coming into 667 over some time. A nice 10% move from here. Watch these lows though. You got this guy. You got this guy. Those are important. And they will set up expectation. If we make a new low relative to this one, that kind of would set up the expectation to not make a new high. But since we've held this higher low, then that sets up the expectation to make a new higher high relative to at least the most recent ones. And really the main one you're looking at is right in here. 645 or so. So yeah. Doesn't look bad on the weekly. Doesn't look bad on the daily. I mean, it's pretty much the same idea. But watch these lows. If you're really long term, you really want to watch that 544, 540, somewhere thereabouts. GME ER tonight. Oh, let's go. What time is their ER at? We should watch that. coming into the end of the day. PRTY. Party City. What's up with Party City? Some relative strength here over the past couple of weeks. Excuse me. Big gap to fill, 296. Man, this thing is really taking a nosedive over the past couple of months, hasn't it? Oh, over the past year, I guess. Yeah, I mean, clear relative strength in this name. Let me see. Lots of volume. They must have had, did they have like an earnings date or something? Looks like earnings were on the 8th. And they had a ton of volume come in on the 15th. Wonder what that's all about. I guess I could look, couldn't I? Go to sidebar, add remove, add new widget, and add news. See what's up with the news here. 12 days ago. Oh no, 6 days ago. Let's see. A 703% increase from previous quarter. So that's why the big move. Am I right? That's why the big move. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's trying to set up to gain. So up and over 267, then you're looking at $3. You've got 200-day moving average at 332. That'd be a logical place for it to pause. Somewhere there. Maybe it wicks up into there. Not a bad look on Party City, at least near term. Long term looks pretty darn bad. So did hold the lows though. Looks like all time lows. Excuse me again. A little sleepy today. Let's go back and take a look. AMGN, Walmart, Ross, VRTX, KR, or MCD. You know, KR was one that we looked at last week. What's the daily looking like on KR here? Definitely a tricky place on KR. Really nice. I do really like the look of this pattern though. If you guys ever if you guys have hung out with me in the past, then you know that I look for these sorts of things. These falling wedges. Falling wedges with RSI divergence. The lower lows with the higher lows on RSI. Always pretty a good look for me. Something that I'm paying attention to, especially like for day trading. Early in the day, if the market sells off early on, I'm always looking for bottoming patterns that kind of look like this. And it didn't really quite do what I would have liked to have seen, which is come back and test kind of where it broke out from. I guess it sort of did. Kind of did here. Yeah, I mean, it looks ready to make a new high relative to this guy, relative to August 24th. So then I guess you're looking for, at that point, you're looking for 51.5, and then you're looking for 53.5. Probably just straight to 53 if they can get up and over. So they're toying around with the 200-day. That purple or pink line is the 200 SMA. Yellow is the 50. So gained and then found support at the 50 and is now bouncing. Excuse me. Yeah, it looks pretty good to me. At least short term looks pretty good. Another long year portfolio. Nice. Do we know what time GME earnings are? Does anybody know? AMGN. I know I got a good buddy's long Walmart right now. Ooh, he's having a good day. Yeah, 136 and almost 136. Nice looks on Walmart. Below the 200-day moving average, 137.70. That could definitely be a spot that it could tango with. 137.5, anywhere between 137.5, 138.5. But did make a new high relative to the gap down high here. It is putting in higher lows pretty much across the board. Yeah, looks pretty good. I like it. Rost. Yeah, a lot of these look the same, don't they? Rost coming into his 200-day moving average. Oh, it's very similar to Walmart, really. Except it's filled the gap now. That 200-day moving average has been a contentious spot, though, for some months. Here, and now here. Maybe this will be the time that it gains it. We'll see. 5 p.m. Eastern. Well, darn it. I'm going to miss it. We'll keep an eye out on it. Hey, let's do this. Let's have a game. Let's play a game. GME opening price. Tomorrow morning. You've got 15 minutes to get your bets in. GME opening price tomorrow morning. Try and get the winner a prize. A TrendSpider prize of some kind. Who wants to place some bets? Guess the opening price. Trader who gets closest to the opening price is the big winner. Y'all want to play? Who wants to play? Annie. Annie says 26.59. Great. Who else wants to play? Sandollar? Tesla AMR? Daniel? Mark? Chewy? Britsu? David? Ziv? Casey? Well, don't let Annie be the only one that plays now. That's true. If no one plays, you win. Well, I'm going to play too. I want to be a part of this. I want to win something. Sandollar. Now, the thing is, y'all. Lori says 1925. Mega bearish. The thing is, y'all, if I can get you guys a prize, you gotta find me. So add me on Twitter or something. Right here, you can see my Twitter at Krutzky Trades. Follow me on Twitter, and I will post the winner tomorrow. And if you're on Twitter, if you're not on Twitter, that's okay. But definitely show up to Monday's live stream so that we can get you. We can take care of you. Chewy says 22.26. Mark SD says 22.32. Britsu says 2012. Jeff says 23.72. Jeff Gaddis. Thanks for saying hello, Jeff. You guys got 12 minutes to get these guesses in here. Tesla says 21.93. Let's see here. What do I think about GameStop? Oh, they held an important spot today. Mike says $10. All right, Mike. You're nice and bearish. Everybody, shout out Mike here. Mike's going to be our guest on the live charting show tomorrow. That's Mike from Market Traders TV. Let's see here. Whenever, I don't know if you guys use log scale ever, but I use it whenever, I use it specifically for charts like this. GameStop, AMC's another one you can use it for. Moderna was a good one. Okay, I see you, Mike. Dang, you really think so? $10? You really think so? The reason why I like log scale, it gives me a relative view of like actually how the price action looks. Whenever you have these big moves, it skews the look of the chart, and so log scale kind of puts that skew into a little bit more clarity for me personally. I'm gonna say 12. Say 11:63. Are people going to the movies right now? I don't really know. I haven't been to the movies in so long. 11:63. Britsu, you changed your mind? You could change your mind if you want. You got 10 minutes. Mike's long at $10. Is there like a weekly level or something over there? Ah, the moon. Because I'm changing mine. I am going to change mine. I'm going to change it to 1318. If I win, I'll give my prize to the person who is the farthest away. How about that? It seems like a fair deal. How does GameStop usually perform? Let's take a look and see. Pretty poor seasonality this month. Next month's pretty good. December's really bad. Has anybody been doing anything of any interest? I'm going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to throw up unusual options and see. Ooh, not the best looking unusual options chart. Oh man, wow. Lots of red, lots of puts being purchased over the past couple of days. Well, presumably purchased. We don't know for sure. They could have been sold. But lots of puts contracts over the past couple of days, that's for sure. You guys know I like to look for big open interests. What's this? Yesterday, the 19.5 put expires on Friday. 310% of the open interest on the 19.5 put. Not really a big trade though. Nothing really super sizable. Just gonna filter out. What's this? $20 calls expires October 22nd. Almost $1 million in premium. 1,000% of the open interest. Wonder when that came in. Let's see if we can't find it. Here it is. September 2nd. $20 calls. It was trading $28 on that day. And now it's trading 24. Interesting. That's the biggest order that there is that I can find. $20 calls. Next biggest order is a 50 put, November expiry. 433K in premium. 11% of the open interest. Bookmap. What's Bookmap, Britsu? I'm not super familiar with that. It seems like my music has died here. I'm going to see if I can get some music back. There we go. There's the music back. It might be really loud, so I'm going to fix that real quick. Sorry, guys. Yeah, that was loud. Sorry. Here we go. There's the music. Super helpful to see liquidity in the market visually, like a heat map in real time. Ooh. So what do we got indices doing here real quick? I'll definitely take a look at Bookmap once I get off the stream. Let's take a look at the Qs and see where we've ended the day today. Interesting, 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 interesting. So I imagine all of our strat traders have had a day today. I would assume they all bought this 2 up, 296.5, trading 299.11, and targeting 303.87. Nice day. Nice day. I hope this is the beginning of something and not just a little nothing. How do we look on SPY? What caused the rally today? Well, it's hard to say for sure, but I suspect, personally, I suspect that the rally was caused because a new low was made. We made a new low. We sucked liquidity out. So we'll just use SPY as a reference point here. We got this low, this July 26th low. And we made a new low yesterday. First time. It's an important new low to make. We talked earlier at the top of the program. If we look at QQQ, we actually closed below that level yesterday. And if you take a look at futures, or if you watch futures actually, all the future symbols closed below this level. So what that signaled was time for a bounce, right? You make a new low in the market, just like when you make a new high, generally you're going to sell off from that new high. Oh, you did? Sand dollar? I didn't know that. I must have missed it. I'm sorry. Thanks for tweeting at me. Yeah, so we made a new low. We took all the liquidity out here. You had a bunch of stops below these lows. They stopped all those people out and then turn it back. Now the question is where do we go from here? Right? RAR? That's the big question. Where do we go from here? Well, to me, we got to look at a couple of things. Got to look at where we came from. This is low to high. You know, in a happy place, happy peaceful place. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it, Sand Dollar. In a happy peaceful place, we would have held probably a little bit higher, this 50% retrace. Now that we've gone below this 50% retrace, now that we've made a new low, that to me kind of sets up the expectation that we're probably going to continue lower eventually. Generally, though, when you take out a big pivot low like this, price has a tendency to bounce and retest somewhere higher. Usually it'll retest somewhere that we had not tested before. So that could be a lot of different things. Earlier in the program, we talked about volume by price from those highs. You got your POC up here at 316. You got your VWAP down here at 310.75. This area could very well come into play. I would also venture to guess probably around 325 could come into play too. If we're able to get there. But now that we've kind of lost that 50% air level from the move, from this low to high, we've made a new low here. I think the expectation is that if we bounce, we're probably not gonna make a new high relative to this one, this 333. At least not on this next move. If this next move has legs, I would anticipate failure somewhere and then a continuation lower. That's what I would expect. If that happens, I don't know, man. That may not happen, but I do believe that that's the technical reason for the bounce today, is that price was seeking liquidity. Price found said liquidity just below these lows. We took out a bunch of stops and reverse. It's a pretty common activity. Pretty common thing to see. Did you figure what out? Is it a real bounce? Yeah, so that's true too, Britsu. We've got jobless claims tomorrow and Jerome Powell is speaking. Why is he speaking? What does he need to say? It's not the actual interest rate numbers don't come out for 2 weeks. So why is Powell speaking tomorrow? I have no clue. But Happy, what are you referring to? Did I figure what out? Is it a real bounce? It's definitely a real bounce. It's just a matter of how much it will bounce. And this is where the 4D chess of trading comes into play, is gauging expectation. It would have been relatively easy to guess that they would bounce it here. Oh, dead cat bouncer rally time. Well, it could be a little bit of both. You know, I'm kind of posing the question to y'all. I'm not sure that I'm here to answer the question. I'm more so here to discuss the possibilities. And, you know, we really won't know until hindsight, right? We won't know until after the fact. My guess, I am buying what you're saying. My guess is that it's not going to be a prolonged bounce. That's my guess. I think that we bounced at a good spot. I think that it makes sense what we did, but I don't like it for like a long term. I don't necessarily like it for we're making a higher low here and we're going to go make a new high. I don't know if I believe that that's going to happen anymore. Whereas a couple of days ago I did. A couple of days ago I was firmly in the camp that we were probably going to bounce right here around 298, 299. We were going to hold this and we were going to go make another go at the 200 day. That's what I thought. And now that we haven't done that, now that we've made a new low, that worries me. That makes me quite more concerned than I was a couple days ago. Even what, September 1st price action was still okay for me. But then yesterday's action I don't love. Is there a head and shoulders pattern starting to form? Well, I guess tell me where you see it. What are you referring to? Like, what section of the chart are you referring to? No, Happy, I do like a temporary bounce. I do think that there's room higher. I just think that it's going to stall. I don't think we're going to make a new high relative to this. Like, I don't think we're going to gain 330. The 1 month. Do you mean the monthly candles, or do you mean just 1 month worth of data? I assume you just mean 1 month worth of data. So if we're looking back 1 month, you're talking about August 8th or something like that? August 7th. Is that what you mean? RAR. Let me see if I can find a good head and shoulders pattern. There was one. Let me think about where I saw them. I want to say maybe Costco had a good one. It wasn't quite what I was looking for. I just want to show you how I think about head and shoulders. Yeah, so this is Ford is a good example of how I think about head and shoulders. And like really, really clean. So the way that I think about head and shoulders, RAR, you have your high, brings you down to a low. That brings you up to the high, right? So this is an important piece of the puzzle. And specifically, this low is a really important piece of the puzzle for me. Right? Because this is the low that brings us up to the highest high that we made. So then we failed below it right here. Because we failed below it, for me, that sets up the expectation that that high would get tested and would fail. And that's exactly what they did. So they test it and then they fail it. Doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. We looked at Ford earlier. We like the look of Ford. It's showing relative strength. But the initial, it's just you would expect an initial reaction. So that's kind of how I think about head and shoulders. I'm looking at the high. I'm looking at the previous high. I'm looking at the low in between those two things. And then on the other side of it, I'm looking to see if price holds that low or loses it. And when it loses it, like it did here, I expect that lower high to get tested. So with that in mind, if we look at SPY, this happens. It's hard to know which is the lower high that brought you there, right? But kind of just looking at this 1 hour chart, this seems pretty logical to me. I could be wrong about this, but here's your high that brings you down, right? That brought you up. And then we lost this right here. Right? We made new lows relative to this one. Well, what we haven't really done is come back up to this. So just very, very briefly looking at it, and you know, I may think something different on a different time frame, but just very briefly looking at it, I would say we might be capped up to about here. if we're able to gain over the coming weeks, I would expect somewhere in here, 425 or so, to be like last stop before an initial or before a continuation lower. Would kind of be my thinking. Yeah, so I'm kind of with you on that, Britsu. The only thing about that, for me, I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying this is how I think about things. Your 200-day, up and over your 200-day at this point does not yield you a new high. And technically speaking, uptrends require higher highs, higher lows. It's really all just how you see it, you know, because you could, this particular low here could mean nothing to you, and you could be looking specifically at this one. If you're looking at this one, then heck yeah, we put in a higher low, or at least we have for now. You don't really know until they just do it. That's why it's hard to make predictions, right? It's really hard to make predictions. So you just have to kind of go with what your gut is. A big piece for me, again, on the prediction side, actually, let me just do the AutoFib. AutoFib pretty much measures it too. We're below that 50% retrace. And I think to remain more bullish, I think we really needed to stay up over it. Me personally, I'd draw it, even though the AutoFib draws it on the most recently completed move, I probably would have put it right here. And if I were on like a weekly, would put it there too. But we're relatively, well, we're trying to gain back that 50%. I don't know. Really hard to say. But that would kind of be my expectation. Why would you use an EMA 40 versus a 9? Well, those are two totally different lengths, sir. So I would use those in different ways. I mean, honestly, you could use both. I'm working on a little project right now, looking at just kind of like basics of moving averages. I mean, it's very, very common for traders to use multiples. The way that I think about moving averages, I don't generally place trades based off of them. I think of them specifically as just basic trend, understanding basics of trend. Where's price in relation to them? Where are they in relation to one another? So you can have, you know, you can really, in my opinion, you can kind of use any lengths that you want, but it makes the most sense to use 2 or 3 lengths that are different lengths. You would want a shorter one, maybe a medium one, and a longer one, right? Your shorter one's going to react to price action faster. Your medium one is going to react to price action a little bit slower, and your long one's going to react the slowest. So the way that I'll use them is, where is price in relation to them? Is it above or below them? Whichever ones I'm using. And where are they in relation to each other? In a strong bullish trend, price is above all of them, and your shortest one is above your next longest one is above your longest one. Right? So if you're using a 5, a 20, a 50, you've got price, then your 5, then your 20, then your 50 in that order, right? Top to bottom. That's a strong bullish trend. Doesn't matter what time frame you're on. Like, that's strong. It's right here. You could see, actually, let me see here. What do I got? 5 is red. Your blue is 20 and your yellow is 50. Right, so strong bullish trend would be kind of this little section of the chart here. Darn, why is this not? There we go. Yeah, kind of like this section. Because all of your moving averages are above each other in order, and price is above all of them as well. Strong bearish trend is the opposite of that, right? Price is trading below all of your moving averages. Your fastest one, so it would be price, your fastest one, your middle one, your slowest one, in that order. Sometimes you see things like this where the moving averages are like spaghetti and they're all intertwined and they're crossing each other up and down. Price is going sideways. That's accumulation or distribution. Easier not to trade during those periods. So that's why people trade on the crosses, right? They're looking for those cross ups or the cross downs. So that's something to be thinking about. Like, instead of necessarily trading because price has touched a moving average, you could go to 10 different time frames and find a moving average where price is touching it. That's going to happen. So instead of using them as places to take trades, use them as places to use them just to understand what's going on with price action. Right? That's kind of how I think about it. Another way that you can think about trading with moving averages that I'm learning about is actually using the levels where they cross both up and down as potential levels of interest. It doesn't work all the time. You got to play around with it. But sometimes places where moving averages cross can come into play in terms of acting as support or resistance in the future. I'll show you what I'm saying. Just draw a couple of horizontal lines at places where they cross. Like, for example, here's a level that they cross. They cross right here, and price breaks down below it, and then kind of perfect resistance to move lower. They crossed right here and fails below, finds almost perfect resistance at the level that they crossed, and breaks down. Again, like I said, this doesn't work every time, so you can't just rely on this. But it is something to watch. Just another layer of analysis. When you can merge multiple signals. GME's going? Oh, let's go to GME. Hold up. Did GME actually... Did they actually merge with FTX, or did they actually partner with FTX? Is that a thing? Did that really happen? Apes are into the crypto future, it would seem. Well, GME's been an NFT generation play for a while now. Has it not? That's a huge move. What did they do? Let's see. Holy guacamole, y'all. Well, my guess ain't gonna work. Mike ain't gonna be... Mike's not gonna be buying this tomorrow, is he? He was looking for $10. So if we've got any users or anybody here who's not yet a TrendSpider subscriber, you guys just missed a monster of a deal. And I'm sorry that you missed it. But we do have some consolation prizes. Let me get you guys, send you guys some links here. Well, hold up. First thing, if you are not in our Discord, come hang out in our Discord. You can ask questions. You can share charts. You can meet other users. Maybe share some strategies. Let's see if I can find a coupon. Darn, where's the coupon? Here we go. How do you not get good faith violations? Rar. The trick to that. The trick to that is cash account. Yeah, so the reason why is because you got a margin account. So you're going to want to switch that to cash. But do know that if you switch to cash, you have to wait for your cash to settle. Cash settles differently depending on what you're trading. So if you trade options, I believe most brokerages now settle that cash overnight and you can use it again. So if you have a cash account and you buy an options contract today and you sell it today, I believe that cash is available for you tomorrow. That's how it works for me. On margin, you're limited to 3-day trades in a 5-day period if your account is below $25,000. So I would say a cash account. would be your best way to avoid that. But do know that if you're trading stock, common stock, and you're doing it on a cash account, buying and selling, when you sell, it's like 3 days. It's like 3 days to settle cash if you buy common stock. Whereas if you buy options, it's overnight. But of course, options are more dangerous. So if you're relatively new to trading, you're just getting into it, you know, I understand the allure of options, but also just make sure you understand what you're doing with them, because they are very tricky, or they can be very tricky. Something to be mindful of. I was looking for a coupon. Yeah, so I just hooked you guys up. 25% off coupon there. Can you get a good faith violation with a cash account, Luke? Are you sure about that? I've never gotten a good faith violation on a cash account. I don't think. Okay, so I got you guys the coupon. But how can you trade it if the cash isn't settled? Is what I'm curious about. That's actually true too, Luke. That's true too. Got it. Okay. Huh. All right. So there you go. I've definitely gotten my fair share of PDT hits in my day. Haven't gotten one in a while, but I've definitely gotten my fair share. You got 2 of them last week. If you enjoy these live streams, you want to know when I'm live, subscribe to my calendar here. That is my calendar. We're going to keep our eye on GME here. For those of us who are expecting a move to the downside, things are not looking great for us yet. Annie, things are looking pretty darn good for you so far, sister. Sandollar, Chewy, Mark, Jeff. You guys are all still in the running so far. Myself, I'm not in the running anymore, I don't think. This thing's going to have to bomb pretty considerably. So, guys, I'm going to get up out of here. Oh, my thoughts on Ulta. Let's see. What's Ulta look like? Yeah, these makeup companies are so strong. It's crazy. Another one is MAC. Well, I think. Maybe. No, not MAC. Elf. That's what I'm thinking of. Elf. Another one. Ulta, though. I mean, you know, hard to be short here. You're at new all-time highs, I believe, today. However, I don't buy new all-time highs. I tend to short into them. So I don't know if I'm the best judge of this. You know, my guess here, or what I'd be looking for here, obviously, clearly super, super strong, but I'd be looking for a pullback to buy into. So, you know, maybe 430 would be a first spot that I'd be looking. It could totally continue extending, you know, going higher here, but we also see that over the past, you know, year and a half, when it makes a new high, has a tendency to get sold off. So I'd be looking for a pullback, looking for strength, or looking for relative weakness here to buy this, because clearly it's strong. Clearly it's an overperformer relative to the market in general. And I would anticipate that it'll probably stay that way, but I can't buy it here. I can't buy new all-time highs. I'd be looking for a pullback. Frank, what was I drawing out earlier on SPY? I don't remember. How much earlier? Andrew, today's run, bear rally. Yeah, you know, I mean, we talked about it at length kind of at the top of the show, Andrew. I do think that there's room to go higher for sure. But I am not confident at this time that we're going to be making a new high relative to the August highs. I think this is going to probably become some kind of retracement move. Maybe back into, we're just looking at SPY here, but maybe back into 412, maybe back into 425, somewhere around in there would be kind of where I might be looking to take a short position. Well, we got to look for the open, though, Sand Dollar. We ain't looking for after hours price. We're looking for the open tomorrow. So that's the big number. Yeah, Luke, like a flight to safety. Ulta being like a flight to safety. Certainly possible. I mean, it's definitely strong. Huh. Interesting that this particular one, Happy Skin, you would think if this is in the same basket, you would think it would be performing the same as nowhere even close. Looks terrible relative to the other makeup symbols. Open, open, open. All right, y'all. So I'm going to jump up out of here again. Thank you to everybody who's here today. Oh, Rev, hold on. You guys always do this. I'm about to leave, and then you guys are like, hey, look at this, look at that. I'd rather buy an Ulta pullback, personally. What's up, BB? What's up, Jamie? I'm sorry to leave. You guys are all starting to... You guys are all just showing up. We just getting started. BB, I got started 2 hours ago, 2.5 hours ago, man. Where were you? Yeah, JNUG was up. Eldorado Gold is the name that I had on my list. And that's EGO. And it was the top of the watch list for a little while. I don't know if it closed top of the watch list. What closed top of the watch list? ENPH, EGO was number 2. Absolutely, Sandar. What's up, Alex? Hope you're well. All right, y'all. Okay, for real. I'm gonna get out of here. BB, I'm sorry you missed the show, but you just gotta show up earlier next time, man. This is the way. I always get live, or I always go live at 2:30 Eastern time, Monday, Wednesday, 2:30 Eastern, 2:30 to 4:30 Eastern. So if you want to come hang out for the show, man, please do so, but show up earlier. There is a link if you scroll up and look at the links that TrendSpider has posted. That's me. You can grab a link to my calendar so you can know when I'm going live anytime you want. But usually Monday, Wednesday, 2:30 Eastern. Now, if we get a day when Jerome's talking on like a Thursday at 4 in the afternoon, I'm going to be live with you guys watching that. So if there's anything big important coming up, I'll probably be live for that too. But generally speaking, Monday, Wednesday, 2:30 to 4:30 Eastern. Okay, so with that, I really am going to get out of here. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys. Great to see familiar faces, as always. Tomorrow, we are live tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time with Mike from Market Traders TV. That is a channel on Twitch. This dude is a master of trend. He understands trend better than just about anybody I know. If you are curious to learn more about Trend, please come be a part of the show tomorrow night. You can bring tickers that you want him to look at. We're going to be picking tickers live that people request. If you just want to come hang out, watch the show, and just see what he has to say about things, that's totally fine too. You don't have to bring any tickers, but you can if you want to. Mike is awesome. We love hanging out with him. He's always a good time, and he always provides a ton of information. So please join us tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, with Mike from Market Traders TV, right here on TrendSpider TV. And since it's a short week, Alex, let me get you. Hold on, brother. It should be, if you search TrendSpider on YouTube, it should be like one of the first things, that you see. It's all queued up, ready to rock. But I got y'all. There you go, Alex. That's a link to the show tomorrow night. So join us for that. Y'all be good. Y'all trade them well. Be careful out there. If you want that 25% discount, take advantage of it. Just scroll up. To all of our new users who joined us over the weekend, thank you so much for signing up to the platform. We really hope that you are enjoying it. Hope you're finding it helpful. We hope you enjoy the new additions to the platform. MultiSymbal View. Super, super cool view. This bad boy right here. If you have any questions about anything TrendSpider related, you can always reach out to me on Twitter via that Krutzky Trades. Via Krutzky Trades. That's my Twitter handle. It's written right there at the bottom. You can also reach out to our support staff. Bottom right-hand corner of your chart where it says contact us. Click on that and write your questions. Any questions that you have about the platform, feel free to reach out to our trainers here. These guys are wealths of knowledge, and they can answer any questions that you have about the platform. If you ever want to do a training session, a one-on-one training session with one of our trainers, maybe you want some help learning how to script stuff for your trading bots, or maybe you want some help understanding how to utilize particular tools on the platform. Click on your name, top right corner, scroll down to where it says schedule training. It'll be right in here. I don't have the option because I'm a trainer, because I work here, but it'll be there on your side. Click that. We'll take you to a calendar where you can schedule a time. These are 45-minute long screen shares with one of our trainers. They're free. You can use them whenever you need them. Take advantage of it. There's no other trading software that offers free training anytime you need it. We've got live people every day, Monday through Sunday. Monday through Friday, they are there 20 hours per day. Saturday, Sunday, 8 hours per day. Almost always someone around who can answer a question for you. So do not hesitate to ask. Okay, I'm going to get out of here for real this time. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you. And I hope to see you guys at the show tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, with Mike from Market Traders TV. All right, guys, take care. Have a good one. See ya.